Okay, that was Attack on Titan, Season 4, Episode 8. We've had a bit of a break since we watched the episode. We had to go to work, but we're back, and I still think it hasn't set in for me yet that Sasha's dead.
I wanted to talk about the emotions I felt for Sasha here in this episode, and I guess I want to talk about it because I'm wondering if it's relatable at all, or if something just, maybe I just was in a colder mood when I watched this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was thinking, and I was like, there are characters in this show that I loved way less, that I cried way more for, which is interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if getting Sasha's death post time skip, where we haven't really, like, we knew Sasha as she was and how she looked then, and the visuals here have obviously changed. I mean, I can look at her and be like, that's adult Sasha now. But I haven't spent time with this post-time skip Sasha in how she looks visually. And I'm wondering if that affected the amount of things that I felt and how strong they were. It was like the iconic Sasha that I knew that whole time that I loved. That Sasha, I feel like I would have cried a lot more for. And so it's weird that a visual, and that's what I'm thinking is the case. Like, I don't know for sure why I didn't feel as strongly as I did for some other characters that I liked less. So I'm just thinking that maybe it's the visual being different and only getting like 2 or 3 episodes with slight little bits of this time skip Sasha.
Gotcha. I feel like it was, I felt intent there with how this episode made me feel about Sasha and during the execution of it. I can't necessarily say why exactly they chose to do it this way, but I think that breaking up the time between Sasha getting shot, not doing well, and then having a break, and then bringing it back to her for the death.
Isn't that energy weird? Like, friend is dying, we're gonna walk in this other room and hear this conversation. Friend is dead.
That's what makes it feel intentional to me. Like, it feels like they wanted me to feel a certain way, so they were gonna portray it this way, and this is how I felt. I felt very sad, and like I in disbelief of it, but a little bit of, what would you call it? Like, you know, like when you feel like you're not, you're
disassociated?
Yeah, it felt like I was
also had a lack of shock value to me. And I think that's...
Really?
Once it happened, I wasn't shocked. Because I feel like from the moment Sasha has been reintroduced into the story from the time skip, has been with this weird connection to Gabby. So once Gabby got up onto the airship, I was like, that would just be like... You know, so once it happened, I was like, of course it would be Sasha, the one that she shot. And I feel like when I think of some other deaths that happened, it happened so suddenly. Like here, we're following the person that's with the gun with the mission to kill. Gabby didn't come onto the airship as a surprise attack to us, the viewer.
Yeah.
And some of the other deaths that I'm thinking of, some of them were total shock value. Titan came out of nowhere and ate the person.
Yeah. I think that we go from a very different vibe when Annie is crushing Petra versus something that unfortunately we are more used to seeing, like somebody getting shot in the way that Sasha did.
Those were sooner deaths. I feel like we've gotten a little maybe disassociative to death in this show.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think that, I think that for Sasha's death here, it was intentional to make me feel that way with how the episode is paced. But I also think it was intentional in a disagreement that I have with you about feeling like you can see all the setup for Sasha with her dying here. I have to say, I saw the setup for Jean, Sasha, and Connie, and it, to me, felt like they were...
said, is it going to be Connie? Is that who you guessed before she got up on the airship?
Correct, because...
So we went into it knowing she was probably going to shoot someone.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that I think that it played itself out, like they wanted you to make it think it could be anybody, and then I think that they wanted to make us think that it was going to be Connie with how much I wrote
Where
down.
He wanted to give them a hug, and John
Yeah.
was like, oh.
He was very lovey.
Yeah.
But I think that the way that they played it out with it being Gabby is a really interesting choice because...
With being Gabby that killed Sasha?
Yeah, because it's a mixed bag of emotions, right? If it was anybody else, right? If it was Falco or any of the other, what would you call it? Like troops, any of the people with the power that we know, whether it was Reiner or Zeke or even Peak, you know, any of those, I think it would have hit different. But
does it almost feel less personal than having a gun in your hand in your human form and shooting someone?
Well, no, it's not because it's a human form, but it does feel less personal because it is the only character that is heavily focused on who doesn't have a perspective of the other side. Every person who has the power of the Titans right now on the side in Marley has of course the knowledge of it, but who also does, but Falco was in the room with Eren and Reiner. Falco made the lines of, no, this is their revenge. If it was Falco who did it, there would have been that emotion there of, I know everything that happened and I'm doing it.
And I'm still making that choice.
So
there's like, there's personal aspects and non-personal aspects. Like, there's something to me that feels a little more personal when it's someone with a gun in their hands and not like in Titan form, just they happen to swipe their giant hand and it kills someone.
Yeah.
But then also you brought up a great thing where the character specifically is less personal in this killing because you know, we talk about Eldian people and the people in Marley, the Eldians in Marley, having kind of separated themselves from these evil devil Eldians.
Yeah.
And they've disassociated themselves from them. They've removed themselves from those people. They don't think of them as equal and the same. And we have Gabby is basically the poster child for that. And so, you know, it became way more personal for Reiner, Bertholdt, and Annie to kill in Paradis because they grew to know these people. And Gabby does, as you said, doesn't yet know. So it's really interesting that there are aspects of it that feel more personal in terms of how you kill.
Yeah.
And then less personal because of who it is and how much they know.
I'm trying to do my best to like again, want to reiterate, I still can't believe that Sasha's dead and we're not going to get that character anymore.
Doesn't really feel real.
Like I said after the episode, like it does connect with Gabby and like how she heard Reiner talking about this person the potato girl, right? But I'm doing my best to try to understand Gabby right now and try to sympathize with what she's feeling because we got a lot of words from Gabby this episode that I don't know if it was told for the first time or the reiteration of it and the timing made it hit harder, but her desire to want to show the world that Eldians can be good and her mission of that and her being a powerful young person who is seemingly first in line to have her goal potentially reached, being thwarted and not only thwarted, but doing the opposite of what your intention is of making Eldians look good, happening to your entire world, done by Eldians, who are the same race that you're trying to show as this good.
Right.
It's the ultimate spit in your face.
Yeah, and we both have the same enemy, actually. Like,
yeah.
Gabby wants the Eldians to be respected and safe and seen as good, but the people oppressing them are Marley. Marley is the one that chose to attack Paradis, the other Eldians there.
Yeah.
And the Eldians in Marley have been told and brainwashed even, and their histories have been written in a way to cause them to also hate Paradis. It's... Okay.
I also think the way that they like utilize show not tell and how that affects an individual is great because Gabby was told by Falco the revenge thing, right? But
she even was there for the show that Willie put on.
Yeah, but Falco was in the room with Eren and Reiner and saw the trauma that occurred. And
he heard the dialogue.
Yeah.
Specifically,
saw how Reiner reacted.
The piece of dialogue that he called upon that Eren said was, Reiner, you and I are the same.
Yeah.
That is the dialogue that Falco remembered when he was talking to Gabby.
I feel very sympathetic, or not sympathetic. I feel very connected to Falco right now as a character, because when I'm a lot of times in shows and fiction, I try to like put myself in a character's shoes, right? Or try to figure out which character I relate to most. And I think before this episode, it could have been Eren, maybe, because, Falco probably would still be in the running, but it could have been Eren because he's this person who came over here and is learning this society with us, right? In season 4. But then this episode revealed some information that I'm pretty sure implies that Eren's been a captive elsewhere and has done other shit like this, which makes me feel like I know Eren less as well with the Zeke connection. But it makes me feel like I relate to Falco more because I know what Eren was through and went through in the first season. And that's what Falco's living through right now, of that tragedy of everybody dying around you and your whole world being uprooted. But he also has the knowledge of both sides now. There's a lot of connection. We need to
talk about. Like, that is a thing we need to talk about, is what if Eren, after having his trauma and his city and his people and his mother being attacked, found out truths like Falco has. Falco found out these truths at the same exact time as all of these traumatic things are happening to him, and he isn't going gung-ho, I'm gonna kill them, like Gabby is. So what if that was Eren? What if we went back in time to when Paradis was first attacked by Berthold, Reiner, and Annie? What if Eren knew soon after or soon before, you know, the intentions and the reason that they were being attacked? You know, if he was in I'll maybe just move Eren over to Marley. And if Eren was in Falco's shoes, how would he feel with the information that Falco has? It's interesting because they're supposed to be at root kind of the same character, in the same way that Reiner's supposed to be, at least in childhood form, similar or comparable to Eren. And we can compare what their lives have been like and how they feel now. I think Falco is supposed to be like the early stages of that comparison, but how it could go differently. How they could take the emotions and the things that they feel and the knowledge that they've learned and their trauma and maybe take it in a non-violent direction.
It's interesting because non-violent direction. Falco didn't have the chance or the time to, and he's a kid, to make a decision of what he thinks he should do going forward.
But I think he has potential to try to come up with a solution that is maybe more diplomatic and less war.
Yes, I agree. And I think that a lot of that's because of his understanding that it was a revenge thing. And it seems like I don't even know if it's understanding mixed with a little bit of sympathy that it's revenge. Because
so we got both of those point of views of what does revenge do to you? If you learned that someone that killed your family did it for revenge, there's 2 point of views of how you would feel, and that is Falco and Gabby. When Gabby says, we weren't there, like, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And Falco's like, I wasn't there either. Like, when that initial attack happened on Paradis, like, that was they weren't there. They didn't do it. And that's been the whole, like, core theme is, like, we are attacking the people who didn't do the crime. We're attacking the institution or the nation that did the crime, but not the specific people that did the crime.
Like, who's the real enemy? Who's the victim enemy in the situation, you know?
They're all victims in their own way.
Well, is Eren trying to... Okay, this is stupid, but is Eren trying to strut a moral high ground of saying that he didn't do this to them, but they did this to themselves? Like, is that the implication? Like,
that's why revenge is so heavily debated in terms of morality, because a lot of people would say, if you do something bad, then it's karma. Well, like, it's what you're due because you did a bad thing.
It's not karma, though, because... In face value of, yes, of course it is, but think about, like, the mental Eren we've seen is in right now, right? And how, like, calm and like how dead almost he looks. If you're under the mindset of,
it's mechanical.
Yeah, if you're thinking, okay, I'm not gonna kill Reiner right now, and you have the whole thought of Reiner could just be a victim of the environment that he was brought up in, right? And because of that, you want to attack the institution that made Reiner. you could make the argument that the only reason Aaron is the way that he is because he was the victim of Reiner, who was the victim of this institution. So, since that's the case, the institution and this place deserves it, and I'm just another victim of it in an extended way.
If he was trying to feel like he was a warrior for justice, would he then feel like if he attacks that institution, he's exacting revenge not only for Paradis and his own people, but for people like Reiner?
Yeah.
Who were forced as kids to do this horrible thing without truly understanding what they were doing. I actually wrote down, I really want to talk about...
We have a bunch of stuff written down.
Yeah, we have tons of things written down. My list mine looks different than yours. I kind of like have like names and then stuff under them of like people in the show that I want to talk about, and then the stuff that's connected to them.
I have letters and words.
Letters and words. Well, that's good. So while we're on this Reiner Aaron kick,
yeah,
I'm sure you might have some more things to say on that. I was wondering to myself if meeting Reiner in the way that Aaron did doesn't seem to have had any purpose. Maybe the purpose was just keeping Reiner out of the fight, but is there more layers to why you would want to keep Reiner out of the fight other than just not wanting to have another person to fight? Was it possibly selfish, or a selfish desire or agenda of possible care there on Aaron's part to meet Reiner the way that he did and have that conversation and keep Reiner out of the fight in some way? Because we even get that dialogue of Aaron once Reiner does wake up and Aaron ends up leaving soon after.
I think that's a good question. Let's start with the reason that Aaron left, right? He said that they were out of strength and that he can't exactly kill Reiner now. I think that I can easily take it face value as he doesn't have enough stamina left. We just saw how much he fought. That all makes sense.
He fought the Warhammer Titan.
Yeah, and we're trying to get out of here. Our mission's done, and we don't have enough power right here to take him out. That's one way to look at it. Another is there is purpose in behind Aaron wanting to keep Reiner alive, whether sympathetically
possibly
or for other motives.
Loaded.
I think that the conversation with Reiner and Aaron was so substantial that it has to have a significant repercussion later on, since Reiner's still alive.
It almost feels like that conversation, like I still feel like that conversation for Aaron was when you do something for a gratification because you'll feel good having had that.
Yeah.
Like Aaron didn't need to have a sit down and pull up a chair conversation with Reiner here where they basically like connect and Reiner apologizes and bears himself to Aaron. They didn't need to have that. And I still feel like, I mean, we've been shown in the show that everything is complex and that it is never, hardly ever, super simple.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's not unjustified to wonder if there's any emotional reason the way that things played out the way they did with Reiner in this attack.
Well, we also got a lot of underlying themes about repentance in that same episode. And if there is a possibility that Aaron's thinking that like a moral high ground route or like an almighty route or a founding titan route, it could be Aaron's reason for being with Reiner in that conversation was solely for Reiner and for Reiner to atone for what he did and make Reiner feel at peace with death rather than putting a shotgun in his mouth. And maybe looking back at Reiner and seeing the fight that he still has makes Aaron realize his work's not done yet. I also have the theory that potentially we know that timey-wimey hijinks happen in regards to memory, right? And we have heard, what's his name? Kruger talk about Mikasa and Armin. What if Aaron knows something that's going to happen with Reiner that hasn't happened yet, and that's why he had the conversation that he did and left him alive because that thing still needs to happen? You know?
It's honestly, like, I love thinking about... I mean, Reiner is honestly one of my favorite characters to think and talk about.
Easily.
And then, like, it could be, like, such positive or maybe, like, emotionally good in some way reasons for any of this conversation between the two of them, any of this connection. But on like the sadistic, more cynical part of my mind, I'm like, isn't it the ultimate revenge to Reiner to not kill him immediately? This person who wants to die himself. So it's like, I still don't obviously know exactly what Eren wants out of Reiner
or is thinking himself,
or what he's thinking himself. But I still feel like they didn't have to have a sit down together. That didn't have to happen. They could have gotten Reiner out of the picture in a different way. Obviously, we saw Cart and Jaw were put in a hole by the Zeke sympathizer. So they could have gotten Reiner out of the picture in a different way that didn't have to be a nice chat with old friends.
Okay, I want to start going through like my notes that I have chronologically now.
Yeah.
When we first saw Eren and Mikasa go up to the ship, and we saw like the reunion, right, between Armin and Mikasa and Eren, and how it was just very like, this is happening. Like it was very depressing, to be honest.
It was very quick too, because then Levi came in.
Yeah, but I guess it was a depressing realization for me, like how far Eren's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then throughout the episode as it unfolded, we learned or was hinted at how far he has gone and how many, like how...
We have to keep saving you, and while we keep saving you, we lose a lot of lives, basically, is what Hanji was saying.
God, do you think we're ever going to go back and see what the moment was that Eren said, all right, see ya, and left initially?
I have so many questions on if it will ever find that out, because did it have anything to do with Zeke? I mean, when did Eren and Zeke link up?
I don't know. I think that's a great question. Just to bring it around, because we're talking about Eren and his mindset right now, we had the implication that Eren was a prisoner elsewhere, right? Or does that suggest that everybody from Paradis and the scouts have come, rescued him from several other places, and then after he's been rescued, he leaves again?
I don't know if that's what they're trying to tell us, or they're just telling us that he was technically a hostage in their mind in this situation. That the only way they could extract him and bring him home was to do this. That he made himself a hostage is what I gathered from that. That they had to come get him, because how else was he going to get back?
Well, yes, I also got that in this interaction, but I also felt like maybe there was...
Well, she does say, we always have to come get you.
Yeah.
From like, and I'm like, I was trying to think to myself, well, we have had one or two other times that a villain took Eren. Like if we think about Reiner and Bertholdt and the tree branches with the Ymir. I feel like that's what she's hinting at is those moments in his younger years when he was taken and they lost lives. I don't think she's necessarily saying that anything has happened in between.
I think you're right.
Then and now.
That's a really good point. I didn't think about that in the moment.
I know, I was trying to think of when else it has happened, and Bertholdt and Reiner and the tree branches completely escaped my mind at first.
Yeah. But I guess the reason I thought the thing that I did was... Didn't Hanji say, like, or was it Hanji or Eren himself? And it was like, we bought time before the whole world is coming after us. Like, I think
it was Eren who said that.
Yeah, so
Eren said that to her in that same conversation.
So in my mind, I was like, oh, you've done this so many times that the whole world is upset with you. You've done this to all these other countries.
We're also... Oh, okay.
That's where, like, my way of thinking came from, yeah.
Gotcha. This is definitely the last time they will... ever want to do this, because as they have said, you trusted us, and obviously they came through, but we no longer trust you. Like, you put your trust in us, but we lost our trust in you.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Eren's bound right now.
Eren is bound, and honestly, I don't think he will necessarily be like super duper free. When they arrive back in Paradis, he might be locked in a cell because they can't trust him. Like, he goes off on his own and leads people to their death. And I think that we have to segue from there to the very, very ending of this episode and Eren's reaction to the consequences, his direct personal consequences to his actions.
Yeah, which was Sasha's death.
Yes.
And how he reacted.
The laugh, clenching teeth, visible... upset that we get at the very, very end there.
I can take it so many ways, man. Like, I mean, what you'd like to think initially is like, him laughing that's Sasha's last word, meet, and remembering all the happy times. Oh, that's so Sasha.
Some people laugh at the face of grief.
Hey, everybody grieves in different ways, and it's the reaction after the laugh, right?
That's the most I think important for us to note and pay attention to.
Yeah, like Aaron or Jean is saying, you're the reason for this. You know, your actions led to this. And I can't discern if Aaron is feeling like if you're really motivated about something and then all this shit starts happening because you're doing it, you're gonna feel some self-doubt about if what you're doing is right, if it was the right. Yeah, I don't know if that's what he's feeling, or I don't know. Like,
well, I think what's important is the word feel. I wrote, just because he has hardened himself to continue to go through hell doesn't mean he doesn't feel.
Yeah.
You would think that someone who is so willing to, I feel like that's so an easy throwaway of like, oh, he's able to do these heinous acts, that means he doesn't have feelings. That is not true.
I wonder like how everything with Zeke has gone down and transpired, because
I know, and I think it is, I want to hear what you say first, but I am really excited to talk about Zeke.
So I have my first, I guess, like, question is there a difference between what Zeke brings to the table in regards to being royal blood than Historia? Is there a difference there? Is one more potent than the other because Aaron and Zeke are related? But because that was touched on, the fact that we had
it was more just like, hey, you have the founding Titan, but you also have me, a Titan with royal blood right now.
Yeah.
Just right now, these are the weapons you have. Obviously, Zeke only has like a year or so left.
Yeah.
So it's not like you'll have him as a weapon for very long, but what it does mean is that someone from Paradis can eat Zeke.
That's true.
So.
But I think that one giveaway is Yelena, because
is that the sympathizer?
Yes.
I didn't get her name.
Yelena. And I think that even though Aaron is a little charmer and charismatic sometimes and can do some magic tricks with cutting his leg off and popping it back out, which is cool.
Super cool.
I think it would be a really tough ask to try to convince multiple people in the Marleyan military to go about things a different way from a devil of Paradis. But
that's why you needed them to be connected to Zeke.
And that's why Zeke has to be the root of it, right? It has to come from Zeke. And I had the question that so could be answered away easily of like, why didn't Zeke just turn everybody into Titans like from this on the Scouts, you know? But so there has
to. Well, now we know why.
Yes.
It's because he was trying to not overkill.
Yeah. And so there has to be a connection there in between Aaron and Zeke, established over the last few years, right?
And if Zeke visits his grandfather at all, he would have come across Aaron.
I think there's a chance that Zeke and Aaron met up or had a conversation before Aaron got here.
And do you want to know why I also possibly agree with you and or feel that could be a possibility? How suspicious Peek is.
Yeah.
Peek was suspicious of Zeke's sympathizer before any of this happened. Peek paid special attention to this person when she did that rounds of that ship or wherever the sympathizer,
She's one of the
Yelena,
first scouts,
was.
right? Yelena?
One of the first.
Because scouts, they sent over to the island and they didn't come back?
Yes.
Oh.
No. Yes?
I thought so, right?
Yes. But for some reason, before that, Peek was suspicious of her. Not suspicious, but paid extra attention to this specific person, which is interesting to me. Because that puts seeds in me of thinking that Peek was already suspicious of Zeke having a change of heart and or maybe leaning a different way. And it made me start thinking, well, why would Peek be suspicious of Zeke? And then I'm like, Peek was with Zeke in Paradis. Peek witnessed Zeke
say to
Aaron, I'm going to come back for you, which showed Peek that there was some sympathizing from Zeke's end, even though Zeke to us and to Marley appeared very cold. He did not care, and he would defeat Aaron and get revenge for what his father had done to him. But Peek, of course Peek would be paying close attention to Zeke's actions after knowing that he wasn't so full of hatred and dedication against. And then when he especially says during the battle of like last episode 2 episodes ago that Eren Yeager isn't my enemy.
Yeah.
And Peak reacts to this. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Eren's bound right now. I mean, Eren's bound right now. I mean, Eren's bound right now.
I mean, Eren's bound right now.